Hi, this is John, and you're watching Code at Kwento. So, today I want to talk to you about something that I do believe each professionals or each working individuals have experienced at some point in time. Let's talk about burnout. So just a disclaimer, I am not a professional mental health expert, or I'm not in any way saying that this is the main definition of things or this is what you should do. These are just some thoughts based on research and based on personal experience about dealing with burnout or about understanding what burnout is. With that out of the way, let's discuss about burnout. So, burnout is that feeling of being demotivated or feeling it's a chronic exhaustion, meaning that you're tired, not just physically tired, but mentally and emotionally drained. Burnout and stress has been used alternatively, but just try to remember that burnout is a higher level of stress. So burnout is the result of being exposed to stress on a regular basis. Because stress is part of work, right? When you are tasked to do something that is bigger than yourself or something that you are not really capable of doing or is kind of challenging in a mental or physical way, most of the time the reaction of our body is stress because we're stretching out the capabilities of who we really are. Stress is somehow, or in a good way, healthy, right? Because we're trying to discover what we can and we can't do. And the only way to do it is by exposing ourselves to stress. But continuous exposure to stress that your body can't cope up, or your physical and your mental and your emotional health can't cope up, it might result to burnout. Burnout, or that burnout moment, meaning that you have nothing to give. You have nothing to give out. Wala ka nang kayang ibigay kasi naubos na. Either physical, your body is collapsing or nagkakasakit ka na, or it just can't cope up with the level of stress that you are putting in yourselves. And mental, you are starting to notice that you cannot give good suggestions about certain things or a certain topic because you're just stressed. It's a total burnout. Okay? In the book called The Truth About Burnout by Christina Maslach and Michael P. Later, who does a survey and interviews to 10,000 professionals from different business and industries, there are 6 areas where burnout hides. So these are the areas that causes a certain individual or causes most of the individuals, professional ones, to experience burnout. In this video, we just want to focus on these 6 things, and maybe you can somehow relate to it and find yourselves saan ba nanggagaling yung burnout ko if you are experiencing burnout, because I do believe that knowing the source would lead you to the solution, right? If you know where your burnout is coming from, you can deal better with it. So the first one is workload. So it's either you're working too much or too much workload, or you are not given enough resources to do the work. We always have a lot to do, right? It's the excess usage of the brain to think of ideas, to think of new coding, or to cope up with the new technologies that's out there, cope up with the new trends, and people always expect something big from us, which is kinda add to the work that we currently have, because honestly, we always want to meet the expectation of others because we are designers, we are developers, we are hired to do this. And sometimes we are thinking that working 12 hours, it's a normal, but it's not. Another thing is the control, okay? The control of the task, the control of the team, the control of the work that we currently have. So you're either dealing with micromanagement, or your lack of influence on the topic, or you're given this accountability but you have no power, right? So whether you work on client work or whether you work internally for the team, we are often in the way of whim. Like, para tayong tools. Gawin mo to, gawin mo yun. We don't have enough control. Especially if you're working with clients. Sometimes your client dictates you what to do, and you don't have any freedom, right? You are not exercising your creative freedom or your inputs on the topic. And that's makes, even though you express yourselves on what works and what not, still you still seek approval from them. And when continuous approval is needed for you to do something, it causes you to burn out, because there's this feeling that this is not your work. Your voice is not loud enough for them to hear, and that you don't have that part in the team. Oftentimes, when we just do what they want and things get wrong, we always get the blame, right? And that adds up to the stress. And that somehow, kahit naman sino, di ba? Sisihin ka sa bagay na ginawa mo lang dahil sinabi nila. I kinda always experience that working with client works, as I work also in freelance. So, another thing is the reward. Okay? So, when it comes to the reward, it's not always that monetary reward. So, hindi siya palaging tungkol sa pera. Sometimes, the appreciation or acknowledgement or sense of satisfaction that we did something good is not given to us, because katulad ng sabi ko kanina, sometimes we are treated as tools. We are treated as a means to a greater things. And most of the time, once we did good and once we have achieved what we are expected from what are expected from us, the credit goes to whoever manages the project or whoever is the client, because after all, it is their input, diba? It is their work, it is their leadership, it is their management, and that demotivates us. And continuous demotivation leads to burnout. And the fourth one is having no community or a toxic community. So basically, it's the feeling of isolation, the feeling of conflict, or the feeling of disrespect, right? When you are not acknowledged, you feel alone, right? You feel burned out, right? Because nobody ever listens to you. Nobody cares. And that's a feeling that is common when it comes to designers, especially those who are working from home. Those people who are isolated from the world, or those who are doing freelance, they have no community at all, or no one understands what they say. Related to that, if you are working in a team, or you are working in a company, working in an agency, or working on a project with several people, is the sense of unfairness. Okay, so when people are favoring others, the sense of feeling that you are isolated, you don't belong here. And that sense of unfairness is reflected within who gets what, right? Who gets the fun project and who gets the boring project, who gets the cool workload and who gets the heavy workload. It's just the unbalance of distribution of work. It's the sense of it's the sense of unbalance. It's the sense of unbalance between you and your co-workers. The unfairness means that you are not treated as well as the other parts of the team. And last but not the least, or actually I think this is the biggest thing, is the challenge values, the challenge way of looking at things. Okay, so it's either ethical conflicts or the meaningless task. So something that you don't want to do, but they're asking you to do it. And sometimes, since most of the designers, or the designers I know at least, are introverts and they cannot say no. So when something is against their ethics, like working extra hours, or working on a holiday, or copying an entire project on the internet, you know what I mean? It's when something you are asked for to do is against the way you believe or the way you are doing things, but still you have to do it, you started to feel burnout because you don't look on the welfare of the project itself. You just don't care because it's against your values. It's against on how you do things. And for me, that is a big factor, perhaps. But yeah, those were the 6 areas where burnout hides. Okay, if you want to learn more about this, if you want to expand or learn more things about it, I do suggest, again, look at the book called The Truth About Burnout, How Organizations Cause Personal Stress and What to Do About It, written by Christina Maslach and Michael P. Later, I think. In the next video, I think we can discuss more about how do you know when you are burnout, or how can you say that it's not stress, it's burnout. Like this video if you want to, dislike it. I leave this question to you. What do you think is the area that you are experiencing most of the burnouts? Let's keep the discussion below. Leave some comments. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks and God bless.